Expert. My name is Jim Katechi, and I'll be your moderator today for this really in-depth look into Microsoft Outlook. Today, our subject matter expert, we're so happy to have him in the house, Jason Bursak. He is an IT presentation professional. He's been doing this for the past decade. He's trained a variety of professional audiences on Microsoft products and solutions, and he currently coordinates the North American IT Productivity Center for Microsoft. So let's give him a big welcome. Jason, before I throw it over to you, I just want to let the folks that are in the class right now know, right next to your video player, you'll see a place where you can chat and ask questions. So I encourage you to go ahead, ask questions, and we will get as many of those questions answered by Jason as we can during this 45-minute presentation. So Jason, I'm just going to throw it over to you.
All right, thanks, Jim. Like Jim said, I coordinate the North America IT Productivity Center for Microsoft, and I've been presenting sort of at a 100 level on various Microsoft products for a long time. And today we're going to talk about Outlook. So I'm going to begin with a PowerPoint with some tips and tricks in order to enhance your productivity in Outlook. Should have the PowerPoint up here. And the tips we're going to go over here, we're going to talk about using rules to sort your mail, color categorizing your meetings. I'll show you how to set up conditional formatting on that color categorization, using multiple time zones in Outlook, taking advantage of the contextual search features, attaching links instead of files, and using time control on your automatic replies. And as I understand it, we'll have plenty of time for question and answer as well. So to begin with talking about rules, rules really help you organize your inbox. And what these can let you do is send emails to certain folders instead of having all of them land in your inbox at once. And this can be really helpful, especially if you get a lot of email during the day. Different people use them in different ways. Some people, for example, have all the emails from their manager go into one folder. Other people don't do that because they want the emails from their manager in their inbox. So it's not like there's one specific way to use these, but you really just need to set them up how you work. One thing that you want to keep in mind when you use rules to sort your inbox is that when the email comes in, if it is sorted by a rule, it will not give you the side view pop-in alert that you have an email come in. So any email that you want that for, you may want to think twice about having it sort with a rule. And in just a little bit, I'll be doing a demo, and I'll be showing you how to set up a rule in your Outlook. Next up is color categorizing your meetings. This is probably my favorite tip in all of these tips, and it's something that I really take advantage of. And I like to be able to look at my Outlook calendar and at a glance, tell how important the meeting is. It's sort of like, what is the nature of the meeting? And let me just give you a few samples of what I do. I use blue for my basic level of importance of a meeting. So sort of my generic meeting is blue. And of course, I would click on that meeting and look and see what the meeting was about to get more information. I have a couple other colors as well. I use, for example, red. I do a lot of presenting, obviously. I use red for a meeting that I'm the presenter for. So not only when I glance at my calendar and I see a red meeting, not only do I know that I'm blocked off 100% the entirety of that time, I will not be able to multitask. I also need to be there early to help set up, and possibly need to be there after the meeting to do some reporting or to wrap up with maybe a guest speaker. So that's my red importance. And I know that just from looking at the color red, all of that stuff, because that's how I color code it. I also use a color orange. That means it's a high importance meeting, but not necessarily one I'm presenting at. So that means that if I see if I'm double booked and I have an orange meeting and a blue meeting, or a red meeting and a blue meeting, I almost don't even need to look at the blue meeting in order to know that which one I need to go to. And you can carry this on a little bit further. For example, a lot of people have a separate color for personal, like I have that sample dentist appointment there on that calendar. Maybe that's a heck of a dentist appointment, isn't it, now that I look at it? But you could make that green, and maybe green is your color for your personal items. And maybe you want to right click on those personal items and lock them, select private, And that way, anyone you've shared your calendar with also won't be able to see what it is. So that's just one more way you could take advantage of color categorization. You can also set up conditional formatting if you would like to automatically have meetings that come into your Outlook calendar be color categorized. Maybe you want every meeting that your manager sets up to be red. You could set that up. And if you just right click on the white space on your calendar, you'll get this menu that you see on the left there. You select conditional formatting and then you set a rule. And this is kind of like an email rule, really, only it applies to a calendar item instead. And as you see there, for example, I could, and I'm having this, every Toastmasters meeting turns that certain color blue that comes in on my calendar. So that's just one more way you can work with color formatting on your Outlook calendar. Multiple time zones. If you travel, or if you work with people who travel, or if you work with people in multiple time zones, this is very helpful. I don't know about you, but okay, so just to give you I find it's helpful to give you examples. So I work in Fargo, North Dakota, and I work with, not surprisingly, a lot of people in Seattle area. And I also work with a handful of people in Europe. So, if I'm going to be doing some co-presenting with people in Europe, I maybe put, the Ireland time zone on my calendar. If I'm going to be spending a lot of time working with people in Seattle and I go there from time to time, I'm going to put the Pacific time zone as well as my home time zone. I don't know about you, but when I'm trying to keep time zones straight in my head, even though I have a mathematics major, half the time I add the 2 hours instead of subtracting the 2 hours. I'm like, so having all the time zones on your calendar can really, I don't know if it saves you oodles and oodles of time, but it can definitely save you some headaches and prevent you from making some mistakes, which is always nice. And you can, as of fairly recently, have up to 3. You've been able to have 2 forever. As of fairly recently, you can now have 3 time zones in Outlook. Contextual search. How many times have I seen people look through their Outlook and they just type something in that search bar and hit return, and then they're sort of frustrated with the results, and that makes sense because they didn't use contextual search. When you put your mouse cursor in that bar, you're going to see tools appear above, and anytime there's a contextual tool in Outlook, that just means it appears only when you can use it. So you're not going to see it when you can't use it. You're only going to see it when you can use it. And in this case, you can see how I can laser focus that search in Outlook. I can not only do a search, I want to search for an email from Jeff. I also want to just say it's got to be of high importance and it has an attachment and it was sent during this month. You can get really laser focused. You're going to find that email a lot faster when you take advantage of those contextual tools instead of just simply typing something in the box and hitting return. So if you're doing that, you're frustrated with the results. This is how you can cure that problem. Attaching links instead of files. This is of course a feature that's going to work with OneDrive for Business or SharePoint. So it's going to require having those services in order to use this. But it's really a great thing for 2 reasons. It takes advantage of the collaborative functionality of OneDrive and SharePoint. So you're sending an email out. Let's say you got a team of 10 people. You send them a PowerPoint deck. All 10 people, they all start working on it. If you sent that file as an attachment, you're going to have 10 versions of the file. How many hours will it take to reconcile those differences? Many hours. Trust me, I've been in that situation. So it's great to be able to co-author an Office document taking advantage of this. You send them a link to the file on your OneDrive or on a SharePoint site instead of attaching it. It's also better for organizational security. You can set security on those links. An email with an important confidential document could accidentally get forwarded out of an organization. Then it's gone. But if you have security on a link, you can stop people after you've sent the email from accessing it. So it's good for both productivity and security. Always nice. Time control and automatic replies. This is a fairly little feature, but I think it's a useful one. Have you ever taken a vacation or traveled on business, or for some reason you needed your automatic replies on? You get back, the day you get back, you're swamped. You have 350 emails that you're trying to get through. You forgot to turn your out of the office off, and then everyone thinks you're still gone, which maybe is a good thing if you're trying to read 350 emails. But this is Kind of a neat feature. I always use this when I travel for business, when I go on vacation. I set my out of office replies for a specific time frame. That way, when I get back, I just don't need to worry about shutting it off. It shuts it off for me. Pretty nice. All right, I'm going to demo now. What I'm going to do here is share my Outlook, and I'm just going to walk through doing all these things that I just told you about. Okay, so here we go. This is my Outlook, and this may look a little bit foreign to you. This is a Microsoft internal version of Outlook, so you might see something maybe in a different spot. I don't think there should be anything too confusing though. First of all, I'm going to set up a rule, and you see there I've already made this folder in my inbox called test folder for rule, and I'm just going to show you how to set up a rule to land an email in this folder. We just go to our file here, and we go down to our manage rules and alerts. And I'm just going to click on that here, and then we're going to make a rule. So I'm going to make a new rule, and there's a lot of things we can select from the rules wizard. We don't have time to go through all of these, but you can get a rough idea. One of the most common ones is to move messages from someone to a folder, and here's where I'm going to select, and I'll just say I'm going to move message from Jeff Duffield. Every time I get a message from Jeff, I'm going to have it move to a specified folder. And I click on my specified folder, I open up my inbox, and I go test folder for rule. And then I click on my next. And there's a bunch of other things I can select. Maybe I want to get more specific. Maybe I say, well, it's got to have certain words in the subject. Maybe it's sent only to me. Maybe it's marked as high importance. Here, let's do that. Let's just mark it as high importance. Okay, see how I can add these. And I can get very, very granular here by adding, CC, by adding specific words in various places, okay? There's some more things I could do. What do I want to do with it? In addition to moving it to the specified folder, instead of doing that, I could just delete it. All my emails from Jeff, that'd be a bad idea. I talk to him all the time. Permanently delete it. Move it to a different group. Reply using a specific template. Lots of different options here. Mark it as read automatically. Play a sound. Exceptions to the rules, the next step. I could say except if it's low importance. I could say, well, this wouldn't make any sense with this high importance flag, but that's just one of the exceptions you can do for importance, except if it's marked as a certain sensitivity, except if it's got an action flag. You can get very, very granular with these rules. I'm going to name the rule. I'll just call it Jeff Duffield test rule. I can run the rule on messages already in my inbox. I'm not going to do that. That would take a very long time. I am not an empty inbox worker. But I do want to just turn on the rule, and I go finish, and now you'll see it's in my rules list. And I can go in here at any time, add rules, and I could shut them off. Like if I say, well, I like this rule, then I want to have it on sometimes, but I can turn it off right now. Or if I want to delete it, I can do that. Okay, so that's how you set up a rule. Let's take a look at meetings. Down here, this is my calendar, of course. I go to my calendar. You can see that I have color categorized my meetings. And once again, I have blue for my standard meetings. And some people like to put their focus time on their calendar. I usually leave my focus time white. So like Tuesday morning, I was building a PowerPoint deck and I don't have anything on the calendar, for example. But you see that I've got these red and orange meetings, and that's the crucial way I color categorize my meetings. Red, like I said, I know I've got to present, so I got to be there early and maybe be there a little late afterwards. Orange means I have to be there, and I really should color this one red because that's where we are right now when I'm presenting. But so I can always look at my calendar and determine in advance kind of the importance level and the nature of the meeting. Now, to take this a step further, what I can do is right-click and go to View Settings. And in my View Settings, I have this option called Conditional Formatting. So if I go into Conditional Formatting, I could say, let's just add a rule here. And we'll go into Condition. And once again, I will say it's anything organized by Jeff. Oops, close the window, sorry. Here he is. Anything organized by Jeff, and I could add some other choices. I could say it's got to have certain words in the subject line, for example, or it has to have certain attendees. We'll just keep it at anything organized by Jeff. It's going to turn this red color here, okay? And I click OK, and I actually don't want to do this, but if I wanted to set up the rule, I would just click OK, and then I've got it set already. I'm just going to go ahead and shut it off. That is how you set up conditional formatting for color coordination. Let's take a look at how you set up multiple time zones. I work in Fargo. This is my Fargo time zone. What if I was going to go on a business trip to Seattle next week, as I do from time to time? I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to my options, and I'm going to go down to my calendar options right here. Lots of options in calendar. Scroll down to time zones. As you can see, I've got Pacific set up already. All I have to do is just go click it. But maybe I want to add an East Coast time zone too. Here, let's you see that I've got Pacific on here. That way I know that when I click this space, oh, that's going to be 7 a.m. Pacific. Probably no one in Seattle is going to attend that meeting. I'm up at 7 a.m. and working, but most people aren't. They'd want me to put it at 8 instead. Okay, so it's really easy to just keep track of your multiple time zones this way. If you want to do 3, easy enough. Go back to our calendar options, scroll down, add a 3rd. There we go. Now I got the East Coast down there too. I want to shut them off. Real easy calendar options. Toggle them both off. All right. Notice they're gone. Now I just am back to my Fargo time zone. Let's take a look at contextual search. If I go back to my mail, and if I click on search current mailbox, you'll see instantly the contextual search features. So I could say, I could just, if I'm looking for something from Jeff, I can just type Jeff Duffield. I can just hit return, but I'm going to get all sorts of wacky stuff. I get these system emails that are sent to me and Jeff. I get, some of the emails that, I might be interested in, but there's a lot of stuff that's just really not very beneficial. But if I go from Jeff, now I'm limited to just emails from him. I might say from Jeff, and I know that it was sent this week. Now I'm down to 2 emails sent last week. Now I'm down to 3 emails. So see how quickly I can laser focus my search. Maybe it has, maybe it's sent at any time, but it has to have an attachment. I can really laser focus this search to find the email I'm looking for very, very quickly using my contextual search buttons. So you should definitely use them. All right. So that's contextual search. How do you attach a link instead of a file? Here, if we go new email, and once again, this is a feature that is going to work with OneDrive and SharePoint. So if that's not something you have enabled, this isn't going to work. But so I'm going to just do a quick test email here, and I go attach file, and then I just click on a file, and maybe I could attach it as a copy, but instead I might share a link instead, and this is going to generate a link, and you'll notice there's security on the link. So if this were to accidentally get forwarded out of the organization, you'd still have control over it. It's not like a file that just got sent off and it's all done. And I can change the permissions here. I could say only the recipients can view and edit this, for example. So this is definitely a great feature for both productivity from a co-editing standpoint, because you can be able to take advantage of the co-authoring features of OneDrive and SharePoint. And you can also send your emails out and feel more secure. Lastly, I want to show you how to set up time control on your automatic replies. We're going to go to our File menu. We're going to go to our Automatic Replies button. And we go in here, and you'll notice that once you turn this on, you also have a toggle box. This is actually the message I turned on when I was on vacation at the end of December. And I set this so that the day here, let's pretend like I'm going to go on vacation next week. Woohoo! I'm going to start it on the 3rd and end it on the 7th. And I would probably want to just start it on the 3rd at 8 a.m. if I was literally going to be gone all of those days, 8 to 5. And then, of course, you also have an out of the org option as well. And then I would, of course, change this message to reflect the actual time. And that way, when I got back the Monday after, those automatic replies would automatically be shut off. Okay. So that's my deck and demo. And we can now, Jim, I believe, move into a question and answer period.
Great, Jason. Thanks very much. A lot of great tips. I had to unmute myself, so sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
So folks, we have some great questions coming in. We got a few already. We'll tackle from Christy, Tim, and Darlene, I think.
Okay.
And just going to say, keep them coming. Jason, first question comes from Christy and says, is there a way to set out of office messages for specific calendar appointments?
I don't think so. Sorry. I think it's either on or off.
Okay. All right. Knocking that one off. Thanks for the question, Christy. And then a couple questions from Tim. Do calendar colors show up on shared calendars?
You know that, honestly, I do not know the answer to that. I don't have access to a shared calendar in this role, and I haven't for quite some time. That's
Okay.
probably something we could look up and get back on, though.
Okay, sounds good. And then this is kind of an organizational question that you may know or may not.
Okay.
Is there a way to keep the name of the organizer from showing up on the calendar? I need to print the calendar, but can't get it all on one page because of names. I'm thinking a lot of these are going to be pretty specific to personal.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different styles you can print. And I think this person is probably saying, you know, whatever style they're looking to print, it doesn't fit on the page because of the extra names.
Right.
So as far as print options are concerned, you can hide the details of private appointment. I don't think there's other. You can tell I print calendars a lot. I'm thinking probably no. I think you basically just have to kind of pick the style that you're looking for, and there's other than hiding the details of private appointments, there's not a whole lot of tweaking you can do beyond just picking what style you're looking for. I feel bad. My answers to these questions are just no.
Well, Jason, the thing about Outlook, it's so deep and there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
That it's impossible for one person to know because it's such great software and just a lot of opportunity for people to really customize it for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, let me know if you're ready for another question.
I'm ready for another question.
Great. Same thing. We're not holding you to it.
Okay.
Catherine would like to know, is there a way to set the default for the reading pane to off?
Yeah, my reading pane's off. See? Let's see. I believe that is done in View. Reading pane off, right there.
All right, we got one.
Got one.
Love it. And I think you're going to be able to help us with this one too from Bob. Okay. How do I set up a set group of people to receive my email, for instance, to my staff members only?
Well, there's a few different ways you could do that. You want to have a group already made, so you just need to type one thing in and hit send. Do you think that am I interpreting the question right?
Yes, but how would you actually initially set up that group?
Okay, so internally, we use listservs. So, if I were to go here, and, we have a listserv set up, and I could say FPC info, and that's 1,000 people. And that's going to be something that's set up on the server, not set up in Outlook. So it might be something that the user, if there's a lot of people here, and you want to just in one fell swoop send it out like this, you can group these. And I think that's done on the Exchange or the mail server side. But once it's done, then you'll be able to just type in, the name of the list and have it sent out. And you can click the plus, and I'm not going to, there's over 1,000 people in here. Here, let me pick a different one. Here's another one. This just has 2 people on it. So then when I click this plus, it'll warn me you can't collapse this again, but this is going to show me who's on it. So that'd probably be the simplest way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there if you only have a few people, would there be a way to do it through a rule?
Oh, well, rules are always going to be for receiving content.
Got it.
So you wouldn't be able to make a rule for sending. But I mean, if you have Office 365 groups, I believe you can also email the group. But I'm not sure all of our audience does, so that might not be a good workaround.
Okay. And here's this one is pretty much almost impossible to answer.
Okay.
But sometimes people have persons asking about periodic emails that don't show up in the inbox. I have to search under the name to retrieve them. Any idea what the troubleshooting might be for that one?
Well, let's see. I mean, it could be a server thing, or it could be something's messed up in the Outlook client. And if someone internally said that to me, my immediate response would be to call the help desk. So if you do have a help desk in your org, that's where I would go for an email that you know is supposed to be there but doesn't show up.
Got it. We have a follow-up question from Catherine.
Okay.
About the default. It says, every time I go to a new folder, it is set to write, and I have to fix every folder's view. I was wondering if you could set the default to off, as this seems the default is right.
Yeah, for a new folder. Yeah,
yes,
the default is
yes.
reading pane is on write.
Yes,
I don't think you can. Every time you make a new folder, like, well, here, let me try it. Of course, there's nothing in it. Oh, okay. So obviously you can. So I just made a new folder, and indeed it is off. So there is a way to do it. As to how to do it, let's will we be able to look that up and maybe get back in touch with that person later?
Yep, I think that works. That works well.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Excellent. So we're kind of at the close. We did ask Bob about how to set up a group specifically in Outlook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might have to. I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, but I might have to get back and browse groups in Outlook. Can I set up a group in Outlook? Yeah, that might have to be another one.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm just gonna fix this. Jason, just want to extend a big. I think it's time we can wrap up.
Okay.
Not more questions in there, but folks, if you we do these Ask the Experts quite often, so we're hoping that we'll be able to at some point provide you with more answers to your questions. Jason, thank you again. And
you're welcome.
As far as questions are concerned, Natalia, who's behind the scenes for our Tech Change group, reminded me that we just launched an Outlook 101 class. So I would encourage you to go to the site, check out the class, and you will be able to learn a lot more than you can in like a 20-minute period. So encourage you to do that, and look out for our next Ask the Experts series coming up in February, covering Power BI. So really look forward to see y'all in there. And thanks, Natalia, behind the scenes at Tech Change. Jason, thank you so much for all your expertise. And folks, we will see you next time here at TechSoup Ask the Expert.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.